In this video, we're going to talk about the threat detection marketplace Sigma field mapping feature. The first thing that we need to talk about is what is this feature and why would you want to use it? Now, Sigma, if you are not familiar, is a generic SIM kind of query language that we can actually translate into other SIM platform query languages like Elastic or ArcSight or Splunk, using a set of backends, which essentially are a set of Python scripts and field mappings. Now, of course, we know that having differences in field names is a problem that is endemic to security analytics, and that even when there are established standards such as the Common Information Model, the Elastic Common Schema, the Common Event Format, that there tend to still be differences in field names and field mapping. So what we have done is we've created a feature that will allow you to map those fields on the fly depending on what kind of configuration you actually have. So let's actually use an example rule to demonstrate how the Sigma field mapping feature functions. First thing that we want to do is actually go to a rule. In this case, we want to look at the original Sigma rule, and let's just copy that to our clipboard for reference later on. We may not actually need this, but it's always good to have a look at what the original Sigma rule looks like and what the translated version looks like without having to have multiple tabs in the browser with the same rule open. So we'll also go to the Elastic Stack translation. We're going to use the query translation as well and copy that to our clipboard and paste that in here into Notepad as well. Now, you don't have to necessarily use the Elastic and query translation in order to utilize the Sigma field mapping feature. This is just an example. We have this feature available for multiple platforms, which you will see in a second. But now that we have the original Sigma rule and the translated version in our Notepad, we can start looking at the data schema. Now you can see here that the data schema right now is original. This is whatever the default Sigma backend has defined for the field mappings. And you can see that there's definitely some translation going on between the original Sigma fields and how Elastic interprets these fields. And I believe that for the most part, the translations for Elastic's backend are based on ECS. So you can definitely see that there are already some differences based on the original version. But what we want to do is we want to customize this even further. Let's just say that in our case, we are not using this event underscore data dot kind of indicator before the actual field name. Maybe in our sim, we just have destination port protocol, image description, file version, and parent image and command line. We're not going to do the demo for all these. We're just going to select a handful. But let's just assume that we're not actually using event underscore data dot in our actual sim. So what we need to do is we need to create a field mapping, a custom Sigma field mapping for this. Now you can see that I already have some groups set up that have some of the other translations that I've been working with. But in this case, we want to actually create a new profile just for this demo. So we're going to go to the top right, click on new profile, and then we're going to go to group name. We're just going to call this demo video. All right. Now we need to actually start picking some fields that we want to translate. Let's start off with event ID. Now this is again where it comes in handy having that translated version already up. So we can go to event ID. We want to actually select the field name as we see it in the translated version. We'll press add field, and you can see that the Elasticsearch field that it is translated to by default is event underscore ID. And we're not going to change this one too much. We're just going to shorten the word event and make it capitalized. So that's one field. Let's do some more fields. How about event data dot image? We'll add that field as well. And before we actually type in the custom field translation, let's just pick a few more of these to translate. Now, This is a great example because event underscore data dot protocol, you can see here that it does not have a Sigma field pre-populated for it. Now, what this typically indicates is that this definition is not by default included in the Sigma backend. However, we know based on looking at the translated output that this is indeed a field that is being used. And in the case where a Sigma field translation is not already predefined, we can actually still make that translation on the fly by typing in whatever field we want to customize in here. So yes, you can actually select from this drop-down list, but we can also type in our own custom field names because maybe they might not be included in the original Sigma rule. So this is a great example of that. And let's just do a couple more here. Great. And let's make sure we get these custom field names in. Remember, the example that we're working with is removing that event underscore data dot because in our theoretical sim, we are not using that. All right, so we have all of our custom field definitions input. Now let's go ahead and press Save Changes. We'll wait for this page to reload, and now we can actually go to Data Schema and select Demo Video. Perfect. This looks good already. Let's go ahead and just paste this in so that we can compare these two side by side. Event underscore ID has now become EVT underscore ID. Fantastic. Event underscore data dot protocol has now become protocol. Fantastic. Event underscore data dot image is now just image. So you can already see that these changes are being reflected immediately in the translated version. And if we ever want to go back and actually fill out all the other custom fields that we need to translate here, we can continue to add fields into this and saving changes to this group as we go. Now, I mentioned at the very beginning of the video that we have multiple field mappings for multiple different sim platforms. You can see all of these sim platforms at the top. If you hit the More button, you can actually see our entire listing. This initial listing up here is really just defined by the window view. So if you're not running a very wide screen, you'll definitely want to make sure you hit More if you're not seeing the sim platform that you're actually using. So definitely take advantage of this feature. It is absolutely meant to make it much easier for you to integrate your rules or start utilizing these queries without having to manually go in and change these mappings in Notepad or in a text file every single time. So it'll really speed up your ability to consume our rules and hopefully make you much more secure along the way. So this is the conclusion of the video. Thank you very much for watching and enjoy using the threat detection marketplace.